I gotta say, I did read the book, and I know that you were saying that this book was geared more towards women, but you wanted me to take a read just to see what I thought about it, and I kind of surprised you in conversation because I told you that the book made me think about my past relationships or past connections with women,
Yeah.
whether it be an actual relationship or a friendship or even family members. You know, you as a man trying to find your way and encountering women and not realizing that they're on their own journey. Sometimes and I think people do this. Sometimes we set up boundaries and and they may be healthy, don't get me wrong, but sometimes we don't offer enough grace to one another. And as I was reading the book and I was actually taking myself into the book and visualizing what you were talking about. Uh in particular, you know, about the dress. I don't want to give away too much, but just being able to stand out and be magnetic towards people, but you may be wrapped in that exact same outfit, but you're not receiving the same attraction for whatever reason, and understanding that it wasn't really about what's around you; it's really about what was within.
Yeah.
And what tripped me out about that was that my whole dating career, and I like to call it a career, I don't know why. My whole dating career, there's been times where I've had zero, like little to no patience for somebody because they're displaying what we may call red flags now.
Yeah.
But really, I was looking at it and like, man, you know, a lot of that stuff was a cry for help, or they were in the trauma and they're trying to get through it, and that's all what they have in that moment. And I told you, I said, man, I'm reading this book. It almost made me want to call a couple of people and apologize because I
You
just didn't
did.
have the patience. But where I was at in my life, I didn't recognize that. What direction were you taking when you wrote this book when it comes to, like, what was the demographic? I mean, I know we talking it was geared more towards women, but what was the whole idea when you started sectioning off certain parts? You're writing certain parts, and you decided, you know what? Let me tell them a piece of this in my life. Like, what made you decide to put something like that in the book?
Well, I know it's part you're talking about. You're referring to the woman in the other dress, which is at the beginning of the book. Is in the mirror. It starts the mirror chapter of the book, and the mirror was intended to show and reflect who we are as women, and oftentimes who we are when we're operating in somebody else's idea of what how we should show up or who we should be, and we put that on, like we put it on like a dress, and even though we're wearing that dress and it looks some on some of us it looks great, on some of us it not so much, but you realize that the dress is not yours,
Yeah.
and until you see another woman walk in the exact same dress and she's wearing it in all its glory and getting what you believe you should be getting. But the difference is that she walked in and she owned the dress, and you walked in and you borrowed the dress. It wasn't yours, it didn't fit you. And so, and that becomes, it comes to life oftentimes with us as women as comparison, comparing yourself to the woman that you think is reflecting what you are not. And so, um, I love that you said, as a man, and I know we had this conversation when you called, and you said, okay, I feel like I need to call some people and apologize because I just didn't have the
Yeah.
capacity at the time. And that was the most wonderfully surprising review I had. And I was hoping that, because though I am a woman and Hey You appears to be written to women, it was written to everybody. It was
Yeah.
written it was written to everyone. It was written to the strong one. It was written to the one that's always okay, the one that's there for everybody else, but is hardly ever seen.
Yeah.
And that isn't just one woman. That's also men as well. And so when I wrote it, I thought it's gonna because I'm a woman, because I'm the woman telling the story. I don't want it to stop men from being able to also dive in and have some ahas and discovery moments like you did. And to date, tons of men have purchased copies, multiple copies actually, of Hey You, like you, and the healing that goes with it has begun to ripple outward in a greater way than I expected.
I gotta say, I was very impressed. Some people open the book, go straight to the end, and think they know what the story is about.
Mhm.
But it's very important to start from the beginning. Although at the end, yeah, you can get to the end and that's fine, but that's kind of like cheating in my perspective. You have to really enjoy and take the full ride and experience that the artist has put together. So when you what I realized is that at the end of each section, as you said, it was a workbook, and there's questions. And not only are there questions, there's also different forms of affirmations. Poetry.
Mhm.
There's scripture. There's
Mhm.
quotes from certain people, empowering things. What what put you in that space to say, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and add this in there? Like, what made you add that element to the book?